What are you zoning out for, you brat? Hurry up and wipe the tables. The boss lady smacked my arm hard, jolting me. I snapped back to reality. The pain from getting run over in my past life seemed to linger as I looked around at the all too familiar surroundings. I've come back to life. Are you still daydreaming? Do you not want today's wages? I glanced at the boss lady's angry face and instinctively started tidying up the tables. On this day in my last life, my real parents came to find me. They cried seeing my calloused hands, telling me to come home and promising to treat me well. That's when I learned that the people I thought were my parents weren't my biological ones. I finally understood why they were so harsh, making 16-year-old me balance school and work. I left with my real folks full of hope, not knowing it would become a nightmare. As I began clearing some plates, I noticed a fancy car parked at the entrance. A hint of sarcasm crossed my mind. Just like last time, the couple was crying when they saw me, saying I was their real daughter. I just gave a cold "oh" and took the plates to the kit green. Maybe different from what they expected. They were briefly stunned, then quickly showed a DNA test, saying, "You were taken by our housekeeper. We just found out. You're really our daughter." I showed a mocking smile. "So what about the fake daughter?" "What?" Seeing their puzzled faces, I nonchalantly reminded them, "The one who's been living my life." They didn't seem to like my words, frowning just a bit, but then thought my discontent made sense. Mom immediately piped up, "You're my daughter. Rose is innocent too. She's been with me 16 years. I'll treat you both equally." I nearly chuckled. A familiar speech. Before, I yearned for family and love for 16 long years. I thought I'd finally be happy, even have a sister. But who knew that foster sister never liked my return home. She even poisoned my relationship with everyone else. With blind parents and a brother who helped her, I eventually died cold and alone in the rain. Now only just 18, holding a Harvard acceptance letter. The boss lady saw me talking, smacked my head, yelled, "Brat. I pay you to work, not chat. Don't want the job? Leave. Your mom begged me to hire you. You don't help at all, just being lazy." Before I could reply, my real parents shielded me, scolding the boss lady. "How dare you treat a kid like this?" The boss lady was about to lash out but saw their outfits and that fancy car everyone was gawking at. She realized they weren't ordinary. Smiling fakely, she said, "Oh ma'am, you don't know how awful this brat's life was. Her mom threw her here underage. What if someone reports me for child labor? I'll be ruined. And no wonder, with parents who don't love her, why bother?" Mom was trembling with anger, Dad's face darkening. Mom shouted, "This is my daughter. Stolen by a bad nanny years ago." The boss lady was stunned, realizing I was from a rich family. Her arrogance vanished. I glanced at the time. Midnight. I was off work. I showed my payment code on my phone. "Pay me for today. I'd like to study tomorrow. We'll work the day after." Mom was shocked I wanted to keep working. "Honey, come home with us. You're the Green family's daughter. You don't need this job." I ignored their plea, collected my pay, and turned to leave. Didn't expect low blood sugar to hit me. I fainted right at the barbecue spot. When I came to, I was back in that suffocating place I wanted to escape. Here again, like fate forcing me into the Green family. How miserable. I changed my clean pajamas, walked downstairs. Mom and Dad shot up, looking at me with such pain. "Sweetie, why is your health so poor? Low blood sugar, severe stomach issues, malnutrition. Did they really treat you so badly?" Last time that moved me. First time I felt cared about. I said it's fine, grateful to be found and living in such a nice place. Now, I only want out of this luxurious cage. I checked my balance, took out $300, said coolly, "I don't want to be here, I'm leaving." "Don't call me sweetie. I can't live up to that. My name is Joe." Mom burst into tears. "Are you mad I didn't get you sooner? I swear I'll treat you well from now on. How about the name Grace? You're the baby I prayed for." "Really?" I asked, staring right at her. She avoided my gaze. "In my last life, I didn't know. They delayed picking me up to not stress Rose's senior year. Only a year after they knew about me. When I died, police called them to collect me. I watched, disembodied. As they heartlessly said, should have never brought her back. Shame wasting time only for her to freeload a year. So unlucky, they sighed. I saw it all, losing hope in family, finally moving on. A year earlier, they knew about me delivering food, grilling, serving, even at construction sites. Nearly all my money went to Rose's mom. If it weren't for my good grades in high school that got me a tuition waiver, and the fact that a higher degree could mean a bigger dowry, I probably would have quit studying by now. It's so hypocritical and disgusting. My mom, seeing she couldn't convince me, just held onto my arm and started crying, begging me to stay. My dad gave me a disapproving look, as if wondering why I was being so ungrateful. In their minds, bringing me back for a better life should have earned them my endless gratitude. But since I just got back, they still spoke to me gently. "Joe, don't be difficult. You're in the most important year of high school. We can give you the best education. Why don't you stay and get used to it for a bit, okay?" This was the same father who looked at me with loathing in a previous life. Hearing him talk to me so patiently now felt strange. Is this what they mean by people being naturally insincere? "Mom, Dad." Just as we were stuck in a stalemate, a clear female voice cut through the tension. She wore a white princess dress with a pretty bow. She looked so refined, like she wasn't even in the same picture as me. She whined to my parents, Mommy, I bought lots of cute clothes today with my brother, and I even got you a gift with his card." Mom wanted to respond warmly to Rose, but kept glancing awkwardly at me. Rose acted like she just noticed me, snorting with dissatisfaction. "Mom, is this the sister you brought back? She doesn't seem to like us." Mom hurried to clarify, "Rose, don't speak like that. She just needs time to adjust." Rose snorted again, carrying herself with an air of superiority like a swan. I couldn't help the anger from the past life she cost me. At first, Rose pretended to be friendly. I believed she was sincere, only to be betrayed. She knocked over milk, claiming I spilled it on purpose. No one believed my side. Later, she apologized, saying she lied in panic because it was her favorite dress. Foolishly, I forgave her. Then we went out for a meal. She invited me for seafood, but went into an allergic reaction, blaming me for it. Claimed I pressured her into eating it to avoid ruining my relationship with the family. I was furious, trying to explain, and accidentally pushed her. She fell, acting all innocent. No one believed me this time either. My disappointed parents hit me, saying they should have left me to die elsewhere. I laughed coolly. "It's like you're the real child of this family or something." Their faces turned at my words. Just as my mom tried to smooth things over, Rose put on her pitiful act. "Does she not like me, Mommy? If someone didn't know better, they'd think I'm some kind of saint." I shot back sarcastically. "Don't use moral blackmail on me. Did the family enroll you in tea ceremony classes? I can already taste the green tea. You took over someone else's life. Be grateful you have a mom who's treated like a maid, or you wouldn't have this luxurious life. You might not even be in school otherwise. Your mom was a thief without guilt, and you act like it's your right? Like parents, like child. Even raised in a rich family, you're still small-minded." Rose didn't expect me to expose her like this, turning red with anger. Being the maid's child is the scandal she loathes most. Someone came forward to shield her, looking at me with disgust and caution. "Why are you hurting Rose? It's not her fault you got lost. Rose is innocent." I thought kids from rough neighborhoods were just impolite, but you're actually malicious and uncultured. "Of course I'm uncultured," I shot back. "In that rough neighborhood, I didn't even attend preschool. I survived by digging through trash. Rose's real mom gambled, beat me as she lost, and I barely scraped by. When schooling was mandatory, she sent me to school, but I had to work to cover my costs. I didn't even get textbooks. Had to borrow from others. Still managed to get top grades and high school tuition waivers and scholarships, which her real mom stole. My education led to a forced marriage with a violent man in his 40s. Sir, living in luxury, who are you to judge me?" My brother's face turned blue and purple. He knew my life was tough, but didn't realize how bad it was. In the past, I kept quiet. They only knew a fraction of my suffering. Now I wanted to tell it all. Since they adored drama, I hoped they'd feel guilty for life. Looking at Alex, who shielded Rose, was my real brother. In the past, I desperately sought his approval, craving the bond of a shared mother. But he shunned me, attacking me with cruel words, accusing me of returning for money. Yet apart from meals, I hadn't spent a dime. Even got into a prestigious school with scholarships based on merit. Rose manipulated classmates to bully me, spread malicious rumors. He didn't investigate, only sneered at me. I cried, begged my parents to uncover the truth. Rose played it as a joke, and things passed. He never apologized, saying there's no smoke without fire. At one time, I longed for his approval. Now I despised him. We know you've been through a lot. But isn't that why we brought you back? Alex argued. Aren't you trying to make us feel guilty just to get money from us? If you need money, just say so. But don't even think about kicking Rose out. She's always gonna be my sister. I chuckled dryly, as if I'm dying to stay with your family. I can leave on my own. My dad blocked me, looking pretty conflicted. Joe, can't you just get along with your sister? Why make things so ugly? It's not like you don't know she can't handle being sent back. Seeing the smirk on my lips, Dad realized he misspoke and awkwardly went silent. I agreed mockingly, yeah, I'm tough, I can handle it. Mom couldn't take it anymore. She shook off Rose's hand and cried, Joe, give us a chance to make it up to you, please. Tell me how we can make you stay. I looked at Rose, who was hiding behind Alex with a hostile look. Malice bubbled up inside me. Fine, kick her out. Not a single thing leaves with her. Rose didn't even get a chance to react. Alex yelled at me, Rose, are you out of your mind? How can you be so cruel? How's Rose supposed to live? I nodded, agreeing with Alex. You already called me cruel, so maybe don't bark in front of me, or I might just kick both of you out. I didn't expect Dad to nod first. Like the head of the household, he tried to be fair. Joe has definitely been wronged over the years. Rose, we thought of you as our daughter in this family too. But Joe doesn't seem comfortable right now. Can you move out for a while? Then he turned to me, Joe. Asking her to leave everything is too much. We'll get her a place. She won't bother you. How's that? I nodded, not intending to repeat the miserable cycle from the last life. Watching Rose and Alex stuck was satisfying. Today was supposed to be my school's finals. After the exams, it'd be summer vacation. But my parents transferred me directly. This summer I had a blast. A spacious room of my own, not some servant's quarters like last time. Alex was hardly home, and even if he was, I stayed in my room to avoid him. No more endless work, terrible bosses, or abuse. In this clean room, I could focus solely on studying. I still remembered the college entrance exam from last time, but it wasn't enough. I had to aim for studying abroad. Last time, I came home thrilled with my Harvard acceptance, but Rose cried. My parents angrily questioned if I was deliberately mocking Rose's grades. A brother even shoved me out, saying they didn't want a manipulative sister like me. I stood outside all night before they let me back in, demanding I apologize to Rose. I refused, and they locked me in a dark room without food. So ridiculous, a fake daughter treated like royalty, a real daughter living like a rat. Mom tried to talk with me at night, but gave up seeing I didn't respond. Her guilt turned to disappointment. 100 days before the big exam, Mom suddenly brought up at dinner, exams are in 100 days. I wonder how Rose is doing. After she spoke, she glanced at me nervously. Seeing no response, she hesitated but asked Joe, can Rose come back just for 50 days? We can send her away after exams. I smirked at Dad, watching for my reaction, and said, whatever you want, before heading upstairs. On my way up, I heard Mom regretfully say, we shouldn't have sent Rose away. Joe's the one who isn't getting close to us. It'd be livelier with Rose home. Dad agreed with Mom, but I didn't care, as I'd be leaving after exams anyway. Rose came back that very night. The house buzzed with laughter. Mom clung to her, not wanting to let go, saying she'd gotten too thin with worry. I finished studying and wanted a drink, but the moment my door opened, every gaze turned to me in the living room. Alex pulled Rose behind him, watching me warily. Mom awkwardly called my name. Ignoring them, I drank water, ready to head back up. Alex sneered, not really family, is she? Just can't be tamed. Rose chimed in, sis is young and naive, let's not hold grudges. All I wanted was sleep, but Rose kept pushing. She stuffed a lipstick into my hand, winking playfully. Sis, I wasn't considerate before. Please accept this limited edition lipstick as my apology. I let go, the lipstick dropping to the floor. Rose started crying immediately. Do you really hate me that much? I might not be their real daughter, but I just want to be with mom and dad. In my last life, she did the same, gave me that lipstick. I ended up poisoned in a hospital. I told mom and dad Rose did it on purpose, but they only saw her gift on camera, making excuses. Alex even assumed I added something to the lipstick to frame her. Fine. If she wants to play, let's play. I picked up the lipstick and handed it to her, saying, I'm really paranoid. Why don't you try it in front of me? If it's fine, then we're good and I won't hold anything against you. What do you say? As soon as I said that, Rose's face changed completely. She didn't expect me to do something like this. Alex started swearing and came up to grab the lipstick. Don't be ungrateful, Grace. You think everyone is as nasty as you? I saw Rose take this lipstick. Just because you're rotten doesn't mean everyone else is. I chuckled and asked, why don't you put it on and show me? You're defending your sister, so you should prove it, right? Alex angrily opened the lipstick cap and applied it directly on his lips. Rose didn't even have time to stop him before he put it on. Now she was really panicking. Guys aren't exactly pros at putting on lipstick, especially someone like Alex who's a bit dull-witted. In his rush to prove something to Rose, he applied way too much. The next second, I watched as Alex's face twisted in pain, and he collapsed, breathing hard. I quickly squatted down to wipe off the lipstick with tissue, noticing that Alex's face was turning purple. My parents immediately looked shocked and called for an ambulance. Dad looked at Rose with a harsh glare, asking, what's going on? Rose was stunned but quickly thought on her feet. I don't know, Dad. I hadn't even opened that lipstick. I ordered it from someone overseas. Maybe the dealer wanted to harm me. Her explanation left my parents somewhat doubtful, and right then the ambulance arrived. Everyone hurried to help Alex onto the ambulance. Luckily, he was okay in the end. After that incident, Rose behaved for a few days. She worked hard to please mom and dad, especially taking good care of Alex. I just continued with my own plan. When Alex came home from the hospital, he actually bought me a small cake. He awkwardly stood at my door, apologizing. I was too harsh before. I thought all girls like sweets, so I was deep in my Spanish listening exercise when he interrupted with his knock. Looking at the cake in his hand, the old me would have been thrilled and would have gone all out to repay him. But now, I just shut the door. Out of sight, out of mind. After I finished my listening practice, someone knocked again. Mom stood there with a glass of milk, looking a bit uncomfortable. Joe, tired from studying? Have some milk before bed. I looked at the milk and said, you used to bring Rose a glass every night when she was back. You might want to go ahead and give it to her, or she'll throw a fit. Mom didn't expect me to be this blunt, and was a bit annoyed. But she continued, Joe, it was all a misunderstanding. Rose explained it clearly, right? That seller added something to the lipstick. Rose grew up right in front of us. She's always been a good kid. I nodded, so I'm the bad kid, huh? I don't get it. You believe such an obvious lie. Are you fooling me or just fooling yourselves? Mom was left speechless. She looked away, avoiding my gaze, then got a bit angry. Enough. Joe, I've been focusing a lot on you lately, haven't I? I don't get what's wrong with you. It's bad enough you're not close to us like Rose is, but you're also hostile to everything here. I'm very disappointed in you. That's that. After saying that, she closed my door and left. Deep down, she probably suspected something, but didn't want to admit it. The college entrance exam came around quickly. During this time, Alex kept trying to make peace, but my cold demeanor turned him away each time. Rose and I were in different test centers. Dad had to go to work. Mom seemed conflicted as she said to me, Joe, is it okay if your brother drives you to the test center? I want to take Rose. No need. I quickly finished my breakfast, made sure I had everything I needed for the test, and hurried out the door. None of you need to come. Rose looked at me with a smug expression, like a winner, as if to say, now that I'm back, Mom still cares about me the most. Alex instantly offered to come along, but I stopped him. If you don't want to upset me, then don't come. Alex froze, handed me a Lucky Charm he'd been clutching, his voice a bit down. Then can you at least take this? I got it just for you. That's a surprise. Last time, only Rose had one of these. I sulkily asked him why he didn't get me one too if we're both his sisters. I remember what he said. Oh, he said, I only have one sister. How can you compare to Rose? Now looking at the charm in his hand made me sick. Give it to Rose, I don't need it. After the exams, I immediately got a tutoring job, teaching middle schoolers through a friend's connection. Since I always ranked first in the school, the pay was pretty decent. I went back and forth every day, Mom always wanting to say something, but held back knowing she had no right. Rose noticed that Alex wasn't as close to her anymore and freaked out. The night our exam scores came in, she slit her wrist. My scores were withheld, while Rose barely scraped by the second-tier line. The score difference made Mom momentarily forget about Rose. Dad even came home for dinner, gave me a set of jade jewelry, and then returned to work. That night, Mom and Alex pulled me aside to chat, asking about my college plans. Then we heard the maid scream. Rose had slit her wrist. They both abandoned me and rushed to her room. Rose opened her eyes in a pool of blood and said, Mom, ever since I accidentally poisoned my brother, I've been feeling so guilty. The stress has been overwhelming, and I didn't do as well as my sister in the entrance exams. I'm sorry, Mom. Do you think I shouldn't have come back? If I hadn't, my brother wouldn't be hurt. Mom and Alex, one in front and one behind, were stopping the bleeding and calling an ambulance. Alex looked at Rose with a pained expression and slapped himself, saying angrily, It's okay if you didn't do well. We can send you abroad to study. Rose, it's me who should be blamed. I shouldn't have doubted you. Why would you do something so silly? If there's a problem, just talk it out. Why go to the extent of cutting your wrist? Rose gave a weak smile and said, It's so great that you forgive me, brother. Seeing you and my sister close lately, I thought you both didn't want me around. That's nonsense. Mom immediately said, This will always be your home. Aren't you turning 18 soon? We'll prepare a grand birthday party for you. I stood on the side watching coldly. I just found it amusing. Mom, looking at Rose as she got into the ambulance, glanced at me standing there indifferent. Finally, she couldn't hold back. She yelled at me, Grace, are you satisfied now? What do you want, huh? Can't allow your sister any space. Do you want to drive your sister to her death to be satisfied? I shouldn't have taken you, this ungrateful person, back. First, your brother was hospitalized, and now Rose is attempting suicide. You've disturbed the entire household. Do you plan to destroy us all? We were wrong back then for losing you, and now we're trying to make it up to you, aren't we? As she spoke, she was about to hit me in agitation, but Alex, who rushed over, stopped her. She calmed down instantly upon seeing Alex. She looked at me, realizing what she had just said. Joe, Mom didn't mean that. I was just too anxious. Listening to her hasty explanation, I suddenly felt that she was really tired. She doesn't like me, but has to pretend she cares. She likes Rose, but fears I have issues with it. Is that what you truly think inside? I looked at her and asked word by word. Did I cause my brother to go to the hospital? Did I hold a knife to Rose's wrist? Mrs. Green, let me make it clear. I've had nothing to do with any of this from the start, Mrs. Green trembled hard, asking in disbelief, What did you call me? I ignored her and turned to head back to my room. The next day, I woke up to find everyone, except Rose, sitting at the dining table waiting for me. Mr. Green hesitated before speaking. Joe, Mom went too far with her words yesterday. Don't hold it against her. She saw Rose trying to kill herself and panicked. You're right, I replied while eating breakfast. They have 18 years of bond. I only have 6 months. It's different. Then, I gathered my stuff, avoided them, and headed to the hospital. I have to say, Rose was really harsh on herself. Seeing only me visiting her in the hospital, she didn't even bother to pretend, mocking, Don't think just because you did well in exams, that Mom and brother will care for you. See, I just cut my wrist, and they instantly abandon you. They only show you care because you aced the exam. Rose showed all her dark side to me. She believed if I told the Green family about this, they wouldn't believe me. They would think I'm trying to stir trouble. Grace, you're so pathetic. You are a real daughter, still living like a fake one. I, a fake one, live more splendidly than you. No one even remembers your birthday in this house. Dad came to see me last night and kept saying he's sorry for me. When I turn 18, he'll transfer 3% of the company shares to me. Honestly, given your parents, It's a miracle they even started their business. The poison in the lipstick, that was me. Initially, I just wanted to teach you a little lesson. But you refused to step into the trap. With a simple excuse, I cleared myself of suspicion. See? How pathetic they are, not believing their real daughter. They even planned to give me stocks. How stupid. I thought you were more capable. I meant, if they accepted you and drove me away, I'd just seduce Alex. Anyway, he's just brainless. I always treated him like a little lapdog, fun to tease. Once he's hooked, wouldn't Green Group still fall into my hands? Listening to these delusional words, I calmly nodded. I walked out. Contrary to what Rose expected, she shouted after me, "What are you so smug about? Even with your good grades, the Green Group stocks will eventually be mine. You'll be working under me. One day, you will beg me on your knees." I pressed pause on the recording pen in my pocket. When the time comes right, I'll serve my counterattack. Rose wasn't hospitalized for long before coming back. And during these days, the family completely ignored me. Alex is probably the most carefree among the Greens. He buys things in pairs. One is for Rose, the other is for me. I was a bit surprised. I didn't expect Alex could actually stick to supporting me after deciding. But soon, he was called to help with Rose's birthday party. Like a princess, dressed in a custom, high-end gown, holding a glass of champagne, with that perfect smile on her face. All the business tycoons came to celebrate. I was sitting in the corner wearing a simple dress, feeling those nasty stares from everyone like they were lasers. Rose's minions strutted over. Well, who do we have here? The real heiress of the Green family, looking all cheap and stuff. Total embarrassment for the Greens. Exactly. Raised outside, no wonder she reeks of commonness. Just having her here makes this whole event feel cheaper. Guess the Green family knew best. They ditched their real daughter to treat Rose as their own. I listened to their snide comments. Then, I picked at my ears and calmly walked up to them. Want me to help you control your mouths? I'm not too concerned about appearances. So if I slap you here, it's no big deal to me. You wouldn't dare. They stepped back a bit, still defiant. If you lay a hand on us, Uncle Green will make you apologize. You're not some big shot like Rose, so don't act like it. Really? I glanced at Rose, who wanted me to feel uncomfortable from the get-go. It's uncertain if she'll remain the Green family's princess. At that moment, the coming-of-age ceremony hit its peak. The big screen, instead of showing recorded birthday wishes for Rose and her speech, played a surprising audio clip. Don't think good grades will make mom and brother care about you. Look, just a little wrist slit, and they ditch you. They only give you attention because you score well. Grace, you're so pathetic. A real heiress, but living like an impostor. Grace screamed, scrambling to have security cut the power, but Mr. Green stopped them. Now, everyone at the party looked intrigued. The Green family's faces were dark as they eyed Rose. Years of nurturing her felt wasted, like feeding a stray dog. The Greens, seasoned players in business, got played by their adopted daughter. Over and over, they prioritized her, letting their real daughter suffer. Rose shrieked, rushing toward me, losing all her previous grace. It's you, Grace. You've ruined everything. But when she got close, Mr. Green kicked her away. Terrified, she turned to Mrs. Green for help, but only found hate in her eyes. Mrs. Green grabbed Rose by the hair, slapping her. You little brat, I treated you like my own daughter for years. When Joe returned and got mistreated, I still thought of not letting you suffer. Turns out you're just like your cursed mom. Trash. Rose, never having been hit before, cried out for Alex to save her. All Alex gave her was a look of disappointment. He protected me, the way he once shielded her. The drama had people leaving in waves. Several business partners, close with Mr. Green, subtly commented, Mr. Green, always keep your guard up. Bad blood runs true. Some traits just don't change. Rose was completely cut off, with not a dime, and Mrs. Green even stripped her of her designer clothes. That night, I packed my stuff and was ready to leave at dawn, but my parents and brother stood at my door, eyes red and faces showing a tangle of emotions. Joe, are you leaving? We had a nightmare. In it, we treated you terribly. We let that brat Rose stay and even misunderstood you because of her. You got into a car accident because of us. Mrs. Green, in denial, cried. Tell me it's just a dream, right? None of it's real, right? Look, you're standing right here. No, I said, crushing her last bit of hope. In my past life, you really did ruin me. Their faces went pale. But I continued. Luckily, the heavens gave me a second chance. Hearing this, Mom broke down, collapsing on her knees, sobbing. She blabbered about compensating me. Stocks, money, cars, houses. Anything I wanted. But I wasn't interested. I pulled my suitcase and said, if possible, I want you all to never bother me again. I've applied to Harvard abroad and have been accepted. I hope we don't meet again. Side note. For years later, I had to return to the country for business collaboration. I had long forgotten the hurt I once felt. Now I had a group of friends who shared my vision, and together, we worked hard and started our venture. We had a bright future ahead of us. When I stepped back into this land, back to those dirty streets I didn't want to think about, not much had changed. The same barbecue shop was run by the same lady, still cursing loudly. Nearby was a begging woman. I was going to give her some change when I saw her face. Rose. Seeing me, she tried to run, and the lady yelled, "Stupid beggar. Always coming around here for food." Later, I heard from the locals that after the Green family kicked Rose out, her biological mother took her back. Disgusted that Rose brought home no money and couldn't even get into a decent college, she sold her off for a bride price to a man over 40. Just like my previous fate, Rose's life became one of constant abuse. Until one day, she couldn't take it anymore. She developed mental issues, killed that man, and lost her sanity completely. The authorities had to let her go because of her mental state. Her biological mother rejected her and threw her out, unable to tolerate her. She could only survive by begging. Sometimes she's clear-headed, sometimes she's in a daze. When she's clear, she stands by the roadside shouting loudly that she's the eldest daughter of the Green family. When she's not, she just laughs silly. Kids throw stones at her, and she doesn't fight back. I feel kind of sorry, but I can't really say I pity her. She brought all of this on herself. Alex is extra. I didn't expect to see Joe again after 4 years. Since Joe left, my mom's health has gotten worse. Dad's company has been maliciously targeted these past years. I'm just a slacker with no real skills. I didn't want Dad's hard work to go to waste, so I gritted my teeth and kept the shaky company going, managing basic operations. That day, I was humbly begging for investment like a dog, and I saw Joe. She was the total boss lady, sitting right in the middle of the conference table. I didn't even have the right to speak to her. She recognized me, but I felt embarrassed and turned to leave right away. All of this was probably karma. At that moment, seeing Joe made me feel like whether the company would survive didn't even matter anymore. Just when I was about to declare the company bankrupt and completely dissolve it, my assistant rushed in and said that a new aggressive company overseas suddenly invested a large sum of money in us. It was just enough to get us through the crisis. Tears started pouring from my eyes. All those years of drinking till I got a stomach bleed, bowing and scraping for investment. And in the end, the one who helped us was the sister we had targeted the most. She always had a soft heart, yet we made her suffer again and again. How are we any different from animals? If I could, I'd trade my eternal soul, hoping that in her next life, and the one after, my sister never meets us again. She deserves a better life. The end.